Quebec, go ahead.
Me or... Yeah, shouldn't we, learn by dodging balls that are thrown at us, or...
That's what this sack of wrenches is for. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
What?
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Film Section Podcast. I'm your host, Chris.
And I'm Mark.
All right. Today, episode 11, what is it? Dodgeball. Yeah,
a true underdog story.
True underdog story. Yeah, remember we were talking about lightening up? Here we go. We're lightening up.
Lightening up a lot.
We're going into the comedy, baby. Love it.
Yeah, our next 4 episodes are all going to be comedy. Our last 4 episodes of the season are all going to be comedies.
Figure we took you down deep into the darkness, and then we're going to leave you on a high note, all the way into the light. Good, man. Anyway, did you watch anything this week? Anything notable? Or?
Well, I watched King Richard. That was amazing.
Sick. I gotta check that out.
It was so good. I rewatched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Amazing, just fantastic.
Beautiful.
I'm trying to think if I watched anything else. I rewatched. Oh, I watched that Tick Tick Boom movie with Andrew Garfield. That's on Netflix.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
About the guy who made Rent.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing movie. Also, even if you're not a fan of musicals, it's just really good. Like Andrew Garfield is amazing in this movie. But I mean, I was a huge fan of the movie In the Heights that came out last summer. So yeah. It's like if you're a fan of In the Heights, or if you're a fan of musicals, or like Lin-Manuel Miranda, then yeah, you'll definitely like Tick Tick Boom. And it's a lot different too than most other musicals. It's shot very much almost like an art house movie kind of.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was really good. But yeah, the movie that we're talking about today, man, Dodgeball. This movie is so wild. Haven't seen this movie in a couple of years, and then watching it last night was just it was the fun pick me up I think that I needed.
It's a comedy that hits like every joke.
Oh yeah, there's something going on every scene.
Everybody in this movie knocks it out of the park, dude. Everyone.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. Literally everybody has a hilarious line. Not to mention, there's so many just throwaway lines that even if you don't pick up on it, it's just hilarious. There's so many just hidden jokes and everything just sort of thrown in. It's wild.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt, Cotton. I said, yeah, that's gotta hurt, Cotton.
Yeah. Yeah.
I fucking love Jason Bateman in this movie, dude. He's so stupid.
But so this movie came out. I mean, we probably don't have to go too into it because I'm sure most people have seen this movie. But this movie came out in June of 2004. It was written and directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber. Sorry if I got the name wrong at all. Budget of $20 million. Its box office, $168 million.
That's right.
So
The fucking
pretty good. So pretty good box office. The cast of this movie is, the cast in this movie is stacked. You got Vince Vaughn.
Yep.
You got Christine Taylor, you got Ben Stiller, you got Rip Torn, you got Justin Long, you got Stephen Root, you got Joel David Moore, Chris Williams, Alan Tudyk, Gary Cole, Jason Bateman, Chuck Norris, and William Shatner make little cameos in this movie. Like it.
I gotta tell you, man. The fucking the one dude is it, I think it's Chris Williams. He played Crazy Eyes Killer in an episode of fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Joel David Moore, I probably recognize from fucking Grandma's Boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies where like everyone that you see, you're like, you know them from something else.
Yeah, you know them from somewhere. And they were good.
Yeah. One thing about this movie that I didn't even realize until rewatching it yesterday was this movie takes place in the 90s, like the early 90s too.
Yeah, you know what? I actually put that together too, because it said a year and then it said 6 years later.
1987 when they showed
I did not know that either, dude.
Yeah.
So today when I watched it, I never paid attention to that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's weird how, this movie's been around for so long and it doesn't play into it being like a 90s movie or anything like that. It's just that's when this movie took place.
Just a movie. The movie just goes. They don't make references. Like, it's just a straightforward movie.
Yeah.
I think that's really why I didn't pay attention or notice that sooner, because they just play it. Like, it's not like something pops up and you're like, oh, that was only in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, so I mean, the movie it's a very simple story. It's a movie about Vince Vaughn's character Peter LaFleur, who owns a gym called Average Joe's Gym, and the business is fledgling, and it's not doing very well.
Oh, he's good, by the way. He just texted me and said he accepted it.
Okay. And so I think that so we meet Peter LaFleur and his business is doing really bad. And then we learn that his business is going to get bought out by Globo Gym, which is owned and run by Ben Stiller's character White Goodman, who throughout this movie is he's one of the best comedy villains. I mean, we already knew that with like a movie like Heavyweights, where we've seen that he's just awesome at playing this wild, off the wall kind of villain.
It's like almost a continuation of that character, which is, I mean, in Heavyweights, he was fucking awesome. Like, yeah. So this, like, he turned this shit up, dude. My favorite lines in this movie come from his character, like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, everybody's kills it, but like his are so much more memorable. Like, not that anybody else's aren't, but like when somebody's like, hey, what about Dodgeball? I'll just start rattling off Ben Stiller quotes from it. Like, so good.
Yeah. Well, our guest is about to join us. Oh, wait.
Yay. Uh-oh. Dagnab technology.
Hold on. He's connecting his audio.
He's the oldest dude, like, younger than me I've ever met in my life.
Who, Cory? Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, White Goodman as a villain is amazing. I mean, even from the first thing that the first time that we see him, where he's like on the treadmill, and he's just like freaking the fuck out. Cory, you got to turn your microphone and your camera on, bro.
Oh yeah. This is the whole thing. See, I had trouble with this too when I downloaded Zoom. Tap the screen and all the options are there. You'll see your camera's off, your mic's off. This happened to me the first time. I had no idea what the fuck. I never went on Zoom.
I don't know. Zoom is just easy to use.
Oh, sure, yeah. Has a recording function and shit, so makes sense.
Yeah. And so Peter LaFleur learns that White Goodman, Ben Stiller's character, is buying out his company through a lawyer, I think, played by Christine Taylor, who plays a character named Catherine Beach. And
she was in Hey Dude.
She was in a lot of things.
Well, yeah,
she was in The Wedding Singer. She was in Friends. She's in a lot of stuff. And this is sort of against. I mean, she was in Zoolander also, where she plays a pretty similar character.
She was in after like a certain point, she was like almost exclusively in movies with Ben Stiller. Like,
well, I mean, they got married. You know?
Well, yeah, no, I know that. I'm just saying. After a certain point in years, it just goes to I'm in Ben Stiller movies, which is fine because she's great in all the roles that she plays. So.
Oh yeah, she's hilarious, and I think it's her acting in this movie is probably better than anyone else's because she has to act like physically repulsed by her husband in every single scene that they're in.
Don't touch me. You don't get to touch me ever.
Well, so I love when Peter LaFleur learns that White Goodman is trying to buy out Average Joe's and turn it into a parking structure, which for so many movies in the 90s and early 2000s, it was always like the bad guy was always interested in real estate. That's always what it was real estate.
Yeah, for real.
So it was, so that was funny. And then I love the back and forth between Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller, where where they're talking about what?
I know that you know that I know.
Well, not even that, but like when Vince Vaughn is just talking to Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller's like, and what about that strippergram you sent for like the Global Gym anniversary? And Vince Vaughn's just like, stripper was meant to be congratulatory, and Ben Stiller's just like, it was also a man.
The best play during those conversations is when at a certain point Vince Vaughn just like all of a sudden is serious, like, what the fuck did he just say? Like, just makes a face.
Can you guys hear?
He's just like,
oh, we can hear you. We can't see
Dude,
your
for
video.
real. No, I thought I clicked the right thing like about 3 minutes ago. So I was like, guys, oh shit, are they just ignoring me?
hello? I'm in a box.
I mean, I heard everything you guys said. But
Yeah.
literally just a second ago, it was like, would you like to unmute? It's like, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Well, let me see if I can ask you to start your video then too.
well, everyone, our special guest is here.
Almost here.
Tap the screen.
the-
At the bottom, you should see something that says
Oh.
like, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah,
There you go.
it
There we go. Hey,
I had the exact same problem
yo,
when I started.
watch it turns out like it just collected all the audio that I was saying. I was like, how the fuck does this thing work? Like, what? Hi, guys.
Yo,
guys.
you're like
It was
this.
literally going like for the whole time. I was like, it's like, yeah, I have some opinions about Vince Vaughn in the movie too. It was, oh fuck. But no, dude, I'm serious. I'm technology illiterate. I really fucking am.
This app, I had the same problem because I never used it before. I'm like, why is my camera not on? And he's going, Chris, I can't hear you. Chris, I can't hear you. I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck to do.
I got to agree completely though, because I did hear all of that. Like, I like though the fact that you find out Vince Vaughn is a loser through his answering machine messages. Like, you literally find out he's losing all of his utilities in the same day, and he owes a substantial amount of porn debt. Not even.
he fucking used Yoo-hoo as like to rinse his mouth out after he was brushing his
But
teeth.
he just kept swallowing. He didn't spit it out or anything. Like, he was brushing his teeth, drank Yoo-hoo, and just swallowed it. It's like, ugh.
Just ate it.
Oh shit. No, it's not. He doesn't even own internet porn debt. He owes fucking like shady video store porn debt.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
just like, the following videos are overdue: Drunken Hussies 5, Backdoor Patrol 6.
No,
And then
oh,
it
you
was
said
adorable.
you
Then
did
it was
say
a fucking adorable movie.
Backdoor Patrol.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it turns out I don't have a box for it anymore, but I do still own this movie. The version that I watched was the quote unquote unrated version.
So did
And
I. Yeah, that's what I
literally-
bought too. Or that's what I watched.
Dude, I don't think there's any difference like between because you said Backdoor Patrol, but in my version it was Backdoor Pussy 5.
Backdoor, yeah, that's what it is. But I mean, in the unrated, there's a couple, because when we go a little bit further and we meet the rest of the cast at Average Joe's Gym, and we meet Owen, we meet Justin Long's character, who's just a fucking loser.
Yo, your cat is on some shit, bro.
Yeah, she's going nuts.
All I heard, you're like naming characters, and I heard.
Mark's like, it turns out they get upset when you don't feed them for 2 days.
Yeah, I guess so.
Stop
But so we meet Justin Long's character, who I gotta think at this point in his life, Justin Long had to have been like almost 30 now, right? In like 2004, like
I think
he'd been playing a high schooler since like the early 90s at this point, I think.
I was kind of like Chris has known me for about like 10 years, but Chris can attest. Like Chris met me when I was in my mid 20s, and like he can attest. Like I looked like I was like 16 back then. So I think like that's where like a lot of you know what I mean, like his like earlier roles came from.
Oh
The fact
yeah,
that he looked very young.
He looks pretty much exactly the same, except then he had like this fucking emo swoop haircut.
Yeah.
for a little bit, yeah. Well, in this movie, his hair is perpetually wet the entire runtime of the movie. It's always wet.
But,
Yeah, he's like always sweating.
well, yeah. It's like, why are you spraying me with a water bottle before every take?
Yeah. But so I love Justin Long's introduction in this movie, because we see his cheerleader tryouts, and we see that 00 Martha Johnstone, who was she was in All of That. She was one of the
Yeah.
people
You
from
got
All
it
of That.
right,
Actually-
Lori Beth Denberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lori Beth Denberg.
Yeah, she's
And-
fucking awesome. She was on Workaholics like real quick too.
And she
Yeah.
in the unrated version, she looks at Justin Long and she says, "I'm not wearing any panties."
Then we
And then-
watched the same version. I don't know what
Nice.
version I watched, but I feel like
Then
it's
he's
the same
literally
one.
suffocating on her vagina like a minute later.
She falls and you can hear Justin Long's muffled scream saying, "I'm in the crack. My head's in the crack."
Justin Long sounds like he did in Tusk.
When he-
Like he has no underneath like that giant like fucking vagina.
then
That's what he
pops-
sounds like.
Dude, he pops up and like sells the fuck out of it, dude, because his face is like soaked. And he looks like he's literally hasn't breathed in like 2 minutes. He's like,
Oh my God. Well, I fucking hate the suction cup noise that they use when she gets up.
oh,
It's the most disgusting sound ever. Like, it's like.
so like basically just in that scene, we see like what this character is. Like,
Oh,
right,
and he's a loser the whole time.
he's like a fucking he's a scared loser.
Yeah,
Like he won't tell that girl he likes her, man. He won't.
yeah.
He's just like, I'm gonna get on the team and everything's gonna be great.
Are we talking like spoilers yet? Or I mean, I don't know if we wait till the end for that or
Well,
We
I
just
think we're
go-
just kind of running through the movie and then conversation. But
okay.
I mean, you can talk about spoilers now if you want. There's really
You can say
no.
whatever you want.
No, I was just gonna say because you mentioned like, oh, he's such a fucking loser. The only reason he ends up with that girl at the end is because her fucking boyfriend falls off the roller coaster and breaks out bone in it. Like, it has nothing to do with him like stepping up
Yeah.
or anything.
Come on, babe, I want to go on the roller coaster.
Yeah. So after
Yeah, that's kind of Yo, wait, that's kind of fucked up, dude. Your boyfriend broke his arm, and you're just like, yeah, I'm getting with Justin Long now.
well, I don't know if that was her
It was a mile
boyfriend.
and a
I
half
don't know
away.
if that was. I don't know if they ever stated that like that was her boyfriend or just some like douchebag, like cheerleader.
He was a fucking douche. That guy was super douche.
But
I guess like he was. Here's the thing: he was a douchebag, but he wasn't like the bullies from It. Like you know what I mean? Like he's
well, yeah. I mean, Stephen King bullies are a whole other thing. Stephen King bullies are in a league of their own.
That boys they turn it up, dude. They do shit that I've never even heard happening to kids, bro. Like,
Yeah,
God, dude, they do that. They do that early '80s shit. That
dude, fucking perfect example. Fucking Stand By Me. Kiefer Sutherland's kind of like a fucking asshole bully. He's just straight up is just like want to see a dead body. Like what?
well, yeah.
No.
I mean, the Stephen King bullies are monsters all their own. They are not normal bullies. They are
They're-
serial killers in high school.
they are
feel like-
well-written sociopaths, essentially.
Yeah.
I feel like he puts a really fucking shitty bully in the movie to prepare you for the fact that there's something bigger, like
Who,
that
Stephen King?
that you're gonna have to wrap your head around, you know. So they're
Yeah.
like he's preparing you, like, yeah, this is pretty bad, but it's not the worst because you're about to find that shit out. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
would
mean,
say
I think
like, sorry.
like I think Stephen King movies are just like, especially like It and Stand By Me is like the world is shitty. Like everyone in this world fucking sucks except for our main characters.
fucking man, they like rapid fire introduce you to these characters in this movie too, like.
But it's done very organically.
And it's just Vince Vaughn showing up at the gym for the day, and he's walking through, and you meet every character and that is associated with Average Joe's like right away, and you just can tell what kind of people they are immediately.
Especially Steve
You
the
know-
Pirate.
Steve
the
the pirate, but do you notice though, like they're all like almost every one of these side characters, almost all of them are like amazing character actors, like Alan
Oh, yeah.
Tudyk, like Stephen Root.
Alan
Dude, this
Tudyk
like side like the background characters in this movie, holy shit, they all stand out in their own kind of way.
Oh
Have you-
I
yeah.
will give this movie that. It fucking absolutely accomplishes that.
Have either of you guys watched Resident Alien? It's a show.
I've heard of it. With
It's a
Alan
show
Tudyk, it's the Alien.
Yeah, it's a show.
I've seen previews for it.
Yeah.
I never
It's
actually like sit down and watch it.
Dude, it's fucking good. It's like really good.
It looked really good, but like
It-
that dude is so good at playing because he was the main villain on Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
So, or the first season.
Oh
at least.
yeah, he is.
He was
You
like
know,
really good on
He would
that,
like
too.
he would like constantly break the fourth wall. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the narrator too. He's
Yeah.
like just saying everything everybody's doing. Like, I mean, it was pretty fucking innovative.
Of course,
So-
Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Like,
Mm.
Yeah, Tucker and Dale versus dude, like countless movies. And same thing with Stephen Root, dude. Like it has Lumberg and Milton from Office Space in that
Yeah.
movie. So that's
Yeah.
a fucking, that's a fucking
you
plus.
gotta, officer, you gotta help us. These kids just keep killing themselves.
Um. So so I think we kind of derailed a little bit.
But we're still in it. We're talking
Yeah.
about the characters, right?
So so after we're introduced to all of our main players, we I'm trying to think where else we are. So we learn that
We find out that he's Christine Taylor's character, so Catherine shows up, and in that role, she's telling him, she's like, "Hey, you're behind on the mortgage, so if you don't pay, you're done. Like it's the building's gone. You're like, there's somebody else is gonna take it."
Mhm.
And he's like, "Sure, man, I'll write you a check. What do you need?" And
Might have to wait till the end of the month.
Yeah.
$50,000 they need to keep the gym. And
Yeah.
we'll see their attempt at keeping their first attempt at keeping the gym in a minute here.
Well, yeah. So they're trying to figure it out, and and I love when so they're all kind of sitting around, and I think it's Owen, right? That's like, wait, I've got an idea. car wash.
And this is okay. Coming up is a quote I use like at least once a week, which
What?
is so
I think I know what it is.
they come up with the car wash and come to find out the place across the street is also doing a car wash with very hot women in bikinis. So they're standing there alone and they're like, I don't think this is gonna work out. The only car we got is that guy that keeps paying dude to fucking clean it all the time. And he's going, yeah, get in there nice and deep, like boy.
Oh my God. No, like I think we say like anytime it like it's like somebody's like kneeling over for anything, like I think one of us like whispers that line or something. But dude, it's it's funny because I made like little note because I haven't seen this movie in like literally almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But I made like little notes, and in that scene, I made a note. I was like half asleep when I wrote it because I watched it in like 2 parts. But I was like, I wonder if this was Justin Long's casting decision in fucking Jeepers Creepers. Like, and anybody that doesn't understand that joke, just Google Jeepers Creepers director. It'll explain everything. And it's scarier than anything. It's scarier than anything in the fucking movie. I guarantee you.
Oh my God.
That joke just became funnier because you said that.
Well, no, that's all I could think about because for this, like he was in that movie Galaxy Quest.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he was in Jeepers Creepers. But after that, like aside from actually, I don't know if he was like in anything like in between these movies. So we literally went right from that movie to this movie, and and it's good, like because like honestly, dude's like a really good actor when it calls for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in this movie, like you kind of have to, like he said, he's kind of a pushover, but
Yeah.
He did have to take direction from the Salvinator.
yeah, I don't. He seems like one of those guys that like didn't know until he signed on. And then he said, dude, not to go from a discussion about dodgeball to Jeepers Creepers or anything, but have you ever seen like pictures of like that dude? Victor's like, dude, he must weigh like 400 fucking pounds when they were making that movie.
He looked exactly
all in his fucking stomach.
He looked exactly like someone that would commit that crime.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like the poster boy.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to the lighthearted comedy.
Dodgeball. The comedy movie we're talking about. So we're going after the car wash. We're after.
Right. So once they get back to the car wash, they come back to the gym, and they see that there's like a White Goodman cutout in their gym that scares the shit out of Justin Long's character.
Relax.
Yeah, like he's just like relax. It's just a cutout, and then I love when they're like what's in the envelope, and Peter LaFleur is like, it's 2 monthly passes to Globo Gym, and Owen's like, awesome, and the other guy's like, it's a joke. He sent it to us as an insult, and then Gordon is like, well, maybe we can use these because we actually lost money doing the car wash.
Maybe we could sell these.
Yeah, and then they're trying to, sit around trying to figure out another way, and one of the guys like, we can sell blood and semen, and Steve's just like, gar.
Steven Root picks up the greatest magazine of all time, Obscure Sports Quarterly.
OSQ.
And we find out in Las Vegas there is a dodgeball tournament where that prize is $50,000. Just happens to be $50,000, huh?
Yeah.
That's how comedy movies are. That's how these fucking comedy movies are, though.
I don't know. This is it's like very much like an early 2000s. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of it still does hold up, but a lot of it's somewhat dated a little bit, because like they talk about like ESPN 8, the Ocho, like that was making fun of all like the obscure like ESPN channels out there.
There were like 4 or 5 ESPN channels, honestly. Like
like
even it's ESPN 3.
It's like squirrel water skiing and like all this.
Random the ESPN Classic channel is those the Sklar brothers. They did that show called Cheap Seats, where they where they just like riffed on like stupid sports like celebrity Olympic games and shit like that. Like they were good, dude. That was like the only thing I would watch.
So I love when Gordon is like, we could play dodgeball, and it's like 50. Winner gets the prize of $50,000, and Justin Long's character is like going around asking everyone, like he's like, Gordon, where do you go when your wife changes the locks? Average Joe's gym. And then he's like, Owen, would you and the other guy want to go back to working at the airport again? No. And he's like, Steve, like, where do you go to do whatever it is that you do? And Steve is just like, Gar, Joe's be the only place for Steve. And Justin Long is just like, Gar, you're right.
Yeah, dude.
Like, oh my god, all this pirate delivery is like spot on.
It's
Like early in the
perfect.
beginning of the movie, he like his Pirate Steve's introduction is he like ambushes fucking Vince Vaughn. He's like, I got me payment coming. Like, but he's like, when he's leaving, he's like, yeah. Vince Vaughn's like, yeah, dude, don't even worry about it. And as he's walking away, he's like, I'll be on the Stairmaster. Fucking funny, dude. Like all that delivery is so fucking good.
So we get like we get like a little chat about how nobody believes in themselves. They're like, what do we do? Like, how do we even do this? So then the next day is apparently training day 1, and they play a really old video
It's
or a really
terrible.
old film that is like a dodgeball tutorial with young
Patches O'Houlihan.
Houlihan.
You know what the most unrealistic part of this movie is that Hank Azaria becomes Rip Torn. There's no fucking way. I don't care what he's pounding or anything over the span of a few decades. He does not become Rip Torn.
Dude, I thought the exact same thing.
It's like, what? It's like that's
Like, this shit is fucked up too. Like,
Well, so we see the narrator, and he's just like, hey there, Timmy. And Timmy's just like, holy mackerel, mister, you scared the jeepers out of me. And then the narrator is like, why don't you take a break from that fine lead-based paint? and then they go, and Timmy's just like, where am I, mister? And he's just like, you're in a Chinese opium den, Timmy.
there's a point in this fucking video where he calls the kid champ.
Yeah, you betcha, champ. Yeah. And in the unrated version, we actually see Timmy like smoking opium and like starts coughing. And he's just like, ADAA, what's that? While he's like coughing up fucking heroin.
like there aren't really any differences between the unrated and the regular rated version because like
Not much. Instead of
Yeah,
like
it's been forever since I've seen it, but aside from like maybe a couple
it's like different like line deliveries basically. That's pretty much it.
like different takes for the same scene
Yeah.
essentially.
Like instead of like the very famous like you're as useful as like a poopy flavored lollipop in the PG-13,
Yeah.
it's you're as useful as a cock flavored lollipop in the unrated version.
Oh, can we talk about Rip Torn in this movie?
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah.
I know.
Coming up right now.
I am fucking convinced. I am convinced Rip Torn like just showed up. His character wasn't even supposed to be in a wheelchair. He just didn't want to fucking get up and walk
Oh,
anywhere.
dude, Rip
I think
Torn
he
was
was-
having a blast filming
He's
this.
so hammered, he just came up with half of this shit like on the top of his head.
He came in the wheelchair, and all the way to the set, he was like, this is my born on the 4th of July right here. And then with the fucking jacket and the wheelchair, he was ready to be, this was his Tom Cruise role, dude.
Well,
I mean,
so,
he does like have some epic moments there.
so
like
it's
that movie.
so it's we meet Rip Torn's character when first we got to get to the open invitational where these guys have their first dodgeball match against Troop 417, which is a Girl Scout troop, and the Girl Scout troop completely kicks Average Joe's ass.
Yeah.
Wipes the floor with them. They're about to win. And then the announcer is like, we have some bad news regarding Troop 417. One of your players tested positive for like 3 different types of anabolic steroids and a low-grade beaver tranquilizer. And one of the girls just walks up
Damn
and
it,
she's like,
Bernice.
God damn you, Bernice! And then it's just
Well, dude, like when she cries, it sounds like Andre the Giant crying. Like
it's so funny.
it's she's got like a little like mustache going shit. She's like a bit taller than all the other girls.
Yeah.
Arm hair.
Yeah, that shit really was funny. That what do you call it? I meant to mention before. I think I mentioned this to Chris, but I actually saw this in the theater when it first came out.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
2004. No, I actually, the place that I saw it isn't around anymore. It was a mall, Latham Circle Mall in Albany, New York, and it was literally there was an AMC on like the only like second floor section of it. It was like a really small mall, but right below it was this bar called Malt River. And like my parents would go there and just like when we were little kids, be like, "Yeah, here's some money, go fucking see Anaconda or something."
They're like,
Go watch Basic Instinct.
They're like,
no, like for real. Like my sister was like 15, 16 at the time, but she looked like she was in her early 20s. So they just see us be like, and just let her, this single mother and her kid in. What do you call it? But there would always like regardless what movie you saw, be hammered people in this like whatever movie it was.
Yeah.
And I remember the movie. Me and my friend Mike went to go see it, and fucking. It wasn't like packed or anything, but these 2 couples came in that were together, and they were all like obviously drinking, but the one dude was fucking obliterated drunk. And during the process, they sit down like a few rows in front of us. Like he pisses off his girlfriend. She like gets up, storms away, blah blah blah. I guess the other couple like didn't know him very well or were friends with her because like they're like, we're gonna go see how she is, and they never came back. Dude, this guy was like fucking Robert De Niro in Cape Fear in the theater scene where he's one. Dude, this man fucking loved this movie more than anything I've ever seen anybody love anything. Like me and my friend are like watching him the whole fucking movie, like as opposed to like what's on the screen. But no, and it's funny too because like when me and my friend like watched it, we both like the part that made us laugh the most is when Dwight hits like some random guy in a bar and like knocks him out cold. And like a minute later, he's like, I think that guy might actually be dead. Like that got the biggest laugh out of us like throughout the whole thing. And the guy was passed out by the time he left, and my friend just go, I think that guy might actually be dead. But yeah, that was my theater going experience.
Literally, my favorite part of this movie is when he introduces the fucking Globo Gym team, and he's like, Laser, Blazer, and my fitness consigliere, Michelle. The way he delivers everything is just like
He's
those
so,
lines
like,
are so dumb, but he fucking knocks them out of the park.
Dude, Ben Stiller is the most quotable thing about this movie. Like aside
Oh,
from
yeah.
like that, that Justin Long scene we were talking about.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's like whenever somebody quotes this movie, they're quoting Dwight Goodman. So
Well,
Yeah.
I love in that restaurant scene when all of like the Globo Gym purple cobras come in, and Vince Vaughn is just like, oh hey White, I didn't realize that Nazi camp got out early. You guys skip arts and crafts, and Ben Stiller just like, yes I did.
He just went with it. He was like, yes, we did.
And then he's just like, hey Kate, didn't realize I was paying you to socialize. And she's just like, you're not, I'm off the clock. And he's just like, well, isn't that convenient for you? And the clock.
it almost seems like everybody's in one movie and Ben Stiller's in another one.
Oh yeah, he is chewing every scene he is in.
I like how at some
Like-
point he subtly realizes that he lost whatever battle they were having with like the war of words, and he just does something really stupid like at the restaurant. He like fucking knocks that waitress all on top of their table because
Yeah.
he lost the argument. He
like
had nothing.
violently
He had-
too.
He had to
He
get the
doesn't
last
doesn't
word.
push her, like fucking slams her into
Well,
that.
yeah, he like nudges her. He like purposely pushes her over because he's like, it's gonna get messy, and like knocks her on the table and spills all the dishes and shit.
Prick.
What a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
One thing you guys mentioned earlier, back when I was trying to figure out how technology worked and how to get this thing to work, you guys mentioned Ben Stiller and his wife, fucking that chick who played Marsha Brady. I forgot her fucking name. What's her name?
Christine
Okay, yeah. But you guys mentioned like she's in all of Ben Stiller's movies, and it kind of reminded me. They're kind of like the Rob Zombie and Sherry Moon Zombie of comedy movies.
Kind of, yeah. A little bit.
Everything that he's in.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. So
So we
after,
fast forward a little because we went to the dinner scene. Dwight Goodman finds out that they're entering this tournament to keep their gym, and so then he forms that team, which we were talking about that restaurant scene where he introduces the team and is like, "See you Las Vegas losers."
well, also during that scene, Gordon is Gordon's like, wait, you never even won a regional qualifying match. And White Goodman's like, oh my god, we never even won a regional qualifying match. Oh yeah, that's remember. The Chancellor's an extremely close friend of mine. I helped him shave some unwanted poundage before beach season.
Some of Ben Stiller's sidelines in that movie are like the best fucking part.
Oh, it's
Like
amazing.
in the very beginning scene, like they're showing like the Globo Gym video or whatever, and he's like here at Globo Gym, we understand that being unfit is like a disease. It's like baldness or necrophilia.
Necrophilia.
No, at the end of that, dude, it popped right into my head. At the end of that, do you think MJF got his fucking catchphrase from Globo Gym?
He might have. I mean, dude, MJF seems like he would be one of like the back, like Laser or Blazer. Like it would just be like Laser MJF. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, this fucking movie, dude. But hey, yeah, and then I think after this is when they meet Patches O'Houlihan, or he just wheels himself in. Becomes their
Well, yeah, Rip
Just like
Torn.
aggressively puts himself into their lives.
Yeah, when like Rip Torn like shows up and or shows up to Peter LaFleur in the parking lot, and he's just like, "Hey, that was the worst display of dodgeball I've ever seen. If you wanna be a true or whatever," he's like, "You gotta hump it into submission." It's like, what the fuck? Like Rip Torn every time, and then in
Dude,
the
like,
unrated
Rip-
version, what?
No, I was gonna say Rip Torn in this movie. Have you ever seen the video of him being arrested?
No.
Or you
Yeah.
never, dude. There's a fuck.
he's
I don't-
Patches O'Houlihan in this video.
It's like I genuinely think Rip Torn is like Nick Nolte. Like it's like, yeah, he's great in these movies, but there's a demon inside this.
Oh
man.
yeah,
Like,
he
that's
is
what-
so.
like,
He
but the
is
video of
like-
Rip Torn, he's like, there's like 3 or 4 cops like in a room trying to subdue him. he's resisting, and they eventually get the upper hand, and he starts acting like Patches O'Houlihan. He's like, oh, you're all going to jail. He is so fucking hammered in that video. It's like, I mean, there's nothing funny about like,
So
somebody
even when he says,
doing something like that.
so even when he says like horrible things that you shouldn't laugh at, but you laugh at because of his delivery,
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like in 2021, this character could still work. Like people, because of the way he delivered it. Like if he was
Sort
if it-
of.
like if it was in like any other setting, like no, bad, terrible. But if the people know the character and the way he delivers it, it could work today.
I don't
Like,
know. I don't know if you can
you'd be-
really get away
you'd
with
be an
calling people
amazing
muff
editor.
divers in movies very much anymore.
I mean, he called someone a retard also. So
Well, yeah, but but so
That's the tip of the iceberg.
when Rip Torn is introduced to the other dodgeballers and whatever, and Vince Vaughn is talking to his friend, and he's just like, I got Patches O'Houlihan, and his friend is just like, Dwight, that's his name. Dwight's like, he's not weird, is he? And Vince Vaughn's like, no. And then Patches comes in, and he's just like, I love the smell of queef in the morning. And Vince Vaughn's just like, well, not that weird.
he's like, you ever drink
Not
your own
weird for us.
urine? You ever drink your own urine? No. Well, I do because it's sterile.
Sterile, and I like the taste.
I mean, he smiles. He's like,
I love his delivery.
Stare.
Necessary? Is it necessary?
Rip Torn I feel like 1999 ticked into the 2000s. Rip Torn, like something happened, and he was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna give a shit.
Men in Black.
Because he fucking goes. I think either before this it might have been before this, or after, like right after this. But Freddy Got Fingered came out, and he was in it, and he was a fucking maniac, bro. Dude, the one character breaks his leg on the skate ramp, and he flies outside, and he's just like, what are you two faggots doing out here? Like, whoa, Rip Torn, whoa.
He starts like stomping on his cats till it's like busted open. Yeah.
He was like a raging loon. Like, he just became a fucking loon. It was.
Well, dude, you know what's crazy though? Like Rip Torn, I think, like he's best known for the Larry Sanders Show, right? Or I mean, like, because I don't really know a lot about him.
Well, I think a lot of people know him. I know me personally. I know him from Men in Black. That's what I always associate with him.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, but no, like he seems like one of those guys. Like he went from like having his like problem under control to just being like William Forsythe's character in fucking Halloween.
Yeah, he like something happened definitely in like the late '90s where he kind of hit that like I don't give a shit button and just like kept going. But then so Rip Torn is like line up, and then everyone is lined up, and he's talking to them. And Justin Long raises his hand, and Rip Torn's like, yeah, queer bag. And Justin's Long like, wait, is that me or? And then he just like, shouldn't we start by dodging balls or? And Rip Torn's just like, that's what this box of wrenches is for.
Well, like, have you guys seen Idiocracy?
And he manages. What's that? Oh, Idiocracy, yeah.
Like, you know how there's a show in that movie, or like they show like what's his face, Dax Shepard watching a show called Ow My Balls. That movie had to be like directly influenced by this movie, because there are so many like shots to like, or comical shots to like the dick and face like in this movie. Like I couldn't even count them.
Justin Long, when he gets hit in the face with the fucking wrench.
Yeah, he has the best performance in the movie.
He
like,
nailed
oh god.
He nails at least 3 fucking people directly in the face.
I remember watching I can't remember if it was like the commentary or the behind the scenes, where the hardest part for them to film was like not flinching when they got hit by stuff. Like all the actors, that was the hardest part, and it's so like when you see the wrench hit Justin Long, I'm like, how many fucking times did they have to film that same scene with Justin Long getting hit in the face and rolling around the ground like writhing in pain?
Dude, like, you notice too, like, what are in the dodgeballs in these movies? Because people literally like, because you remember dodgeball when you're a kid, it's like, yeah, it stings for a second or whatever.
Oh, they
But like, dude,
fucked
people
up.
literally leave their feet after getting hit with a fucking dodgeball. Like it's like somebody threw like a fucking brick at their head.
Dude, these dodgeballs are fucking
Dude,
lethal.
they're lethal, dude. Holy shit, dude.
They're fucking loaded, dude. The part at the end when he throws the ball and hits that Michelle guy,
Mhm.
flies back like 3 feet and then lands on the ground like he'd been shot.
Yeah.
Like,
Um. So then, so it's after basically Justin Long gets hit in the face with a wrench that we kind of get like this little like montage of them training, where Gordon gets ran over by a car, Dwight gets hit in the head um by a wrench, and then when they keep like spinning around to like catch the balls, Justin Long's players keep spinning around. He just keeps getting hit over and over and over after everyone catches it.
everyone's progressing, and he's getting hit in the nuts and face with
over and over.
over and over again.
Oh god.
Oh my god, it's so funny. And then we learn that Catherine Beach played 8 years of softball, and so she whips this dodgeball at the cardboard cutout of White Goodman. And I love when Dwight leans into Vince Vaughn's ear and is like, "Man, she got to be a lesbian." And Vince Vaughn is just like, "She is not a lesbian." And Rip Torn is just like, "All I know is that dyke can play."
Dude, this movie would have got canceled so fucking quick
Oh my
back in
god,
the day.
so
This would be Dave Chappelle for the closer of movies for nowadays. Like,
I love the delivery too. He's just like, oh.
too. It's genuinely good fucking delivery.
Oh yeah, because he's just so cavalier about it. He's like, "All I know is that dyke can play."
He has the delivery in this by him reminds me of the delivery by that guy in The Goods. The guy that's like, he's like, we're gonna sell some cars and then we're gonna go to Okie, and that dude's like, he's talking about karaoke, you fucking queers. Dude, the same type of delivery. It's just fucking. It makes you almost want to fucking roll on the floor laughing, dude.
Oh my god, there were so many times during this movie that I just busted out laughing. Like there's certain comedies that it's like, yeah, I just breathe very hard through my nose, and then there's other comedies where it's like I'm just rolling on the ground laughing. And again, it's all in the delivery, because I think this same movie with any other actors would have just been so dumb. Like it just would have been so stupid that it's not even funny.
Because I mean, this movie would be considered like a spoof, though, right? I mean, like at its core, I mean,
it's definitely
very,
like a satire of sports movies.
Yeah, like
that's for sure.
Yeah, because I don't know, like it's kind of reminds me of like Basketball in that way, because it is like a coherent story, like that isn't too. I mean, Basketball is like a lot goofier.
Yeah,
but this one has like a coherent story to it, or like flow, and everybody does their parts like really, really good.
Yeah, like I don't know if I would call it a parody, but I would definitely say it's a satire of all those sports movies of like the underdog team that like comes out and wins. It's definitely a satire of
I don't
those.
think any movie in history has like not taken itself seriously at all as much as this movie has, and still like come out like quality. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, like as Chris and I were talking earlier before you came on, I mean, this movie made over $100 million on a $20 million budget, and back in like 2004, that's huge. That's a big.
Well, I remember really liking, or like having it like it was really fun in the theater and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like at the end scene with the blindfold, like when he hits him with a dodgeball, people were like clapping and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, the drunk guy in front of us was already fucking. That poor man never found out how the movie ended.
Well, I think another thing about this movie that I think should be kind of taken into account is that, especially in the early 2000s, like this was the comedy team. Like before, like Seth Rogen and all those guys came around, this was like the Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, Will Ferrell kind of clique that was going around that like dominated those early 2000s. And so I think it's really funny that when you look at all those, like all these kind of movies like Dodgeball or Starsky and Hutch or like Wedding Crashers or Anchorman, it's really interesting how this movie for some reason doesn't get the talk that like Anchorman or Wedding Crashers does.
I think 40-Year-Old Virgin came out the same year.
Let's look it up.
It came out right around the same time.
Yeah.
Same like like people behind it. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
kind of like the last of its like kind though, because like when you think back to this era, it's like all right, I think Vince Vaughn, Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, like
Mhm.
Steve Carell, like all like the same guys. But nowadays, there's just so many comedians and actors like trying to like break in where it's like there's no like solidified group. There's just like a handful of like really like talented people, but there is no like kind of like the Brat Pack or whatever the hell you would call it, like of comedy anymore, or at
Yeah.
least for this generation. So
Yeah, there's really. I mean, aside from like as I said, like Seth Rogen and like that kind of whole crew, um,
yeah, yeah.
like
Well,
that's really
yeah,
it. But even Seth Rogen is kind of like branched off a little bit. That he's doing like he's still doing comedies, but he's not with like the people that he normally was doing stuff with.
He was just on the newest episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, I started watching this show on HBO Max, this like Santa show with like him and Sarah Silverman, this like
Yeah.
claymation show. It kind of sucks, honestly, but um,
Speaking of him, I gotta watch the Christmas movie that him and fucking Anthony Mackie and
oh,
Joseph-
"Twas the Night."
dude, I
yeah.
love
That's a good movie. I went to this. I went to the theater to see that movie. I remember.
that movie.
Honestly, one of the better Christmas movies of the last like
It
decade.
is. It was a good movie. I love the scene where fucking Seth Rogen is like tripping face.
Yeah.
Movie, it's fucking great. But anyways, um, so we, so Catherine Beach, Christine Taylor's character, whips the dodgeball, and so they're, all the guys on the team are like, "Can you play? Can you do this? Whatever." And
She's like,
Christine Taylor's like, "No, I can't. It's conflict of interest."
yeah.
And so Rip Torn is like, "All right, no use in crying over spilled breast milk." And like, again, it's like, what the fuck does that mean?
Oh my god.
And so Michelle prints out the pictures, and we cut to Ben Stiller about to shove a slice of pizza in his pants.
He has like
And
an
he's just,
erotic moment with it.
"What did I tell you about interrupting me during my private reflection period?"
Private reflection period.
And so
I don't want to gloss. Listen, I don't want to gloss over something that happened earlier. When Christine Taylor's character was showing up at the Globo gym, and Michelle comes in and he's like, "Oh, sir, Catherine Beach is here." He's like, "Let her in 30 seconds," and he starts pumping up his fucking.
It's like one of
He's
those
got-
shoes from the early '90s.
he's got like Reebok pumps for his penis. I don't know. He's fucking going in, dude. He's making himself look like the best version of him.
He does. But then when he comes down the stairs and Christine Taylor's like, "Are you reading the dictionary?" And he's just like, "Yep, you caught me. I like to break a mental sweat too."
There's a great line in that scene too, where they're sitting down and she looks at the painting behind him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's a business philosophy. It's me taking the bull by the horns." Then he's like sits there for a thing. He's like, "That actually
Really
happened."
happened though. Yeah. And then
It's like that. It's so fucking funny.
yeah, and then like later in that scene when White Goodman's like, "I don't want you to think of me as your boss," and she's like, "Oh, I don't," and he's just like, I mean, I don't want to make it a formal thing, I'm white, WHIT.
He like realizes what he's
like,
like,
no, I'm not trying. Yeah, I'm not trying to do that. But I mean, what if I was?
Yeah.
Then he like made that face, dude. He's like fucking lifted his eyebrows and shit.
Oh yeah. Well, when he's just like, "I don't want to be shackled by the employee-employer relationship," in which case I got some shackles in the back. Just kidding.
Yeah,
But no, really, I got him.
Well, like in context of the movie, like she's into like she has like an attraction where to Vince Vaughn's character, I guess, in some way. But
Mhm.
if you look at this movie out of context, it's two guys who like this woman is not interested in all.
Oh
fighting
yeah.
over her.
Yeah, it's like
There's,
you two
like,
are both
literally,
such
like-
losers that
It's
like,
like it's so funny because they're like polar opposites. Like Vince Vaughn is going, or not Vince Vaughn, Ben Stiller. His character's like going all in on her, and Vince Vaughn's character takes that approach where it's like, I see this guy being crazy. Well, let me just get within earshot of the girl to say something about him being crazy that
Yeah.
gets me in. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
like, oh man, I think the lady wants you to get out of here. Like shit like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
Dude, he
Well,
invites
so let's-
himself into her place. He says something like, "Oh, do I smell cookies or something?"
Yeah.
And like he like barges into her place.
well, so let's get to that scene then. So when Michelle shows Ben Stiller the pictures of Catherine Beach throwing the dodgeball, and then Ben Stiller's just like, looks like I'll have to woo Kate quicker than I thought, but rest assured, like no lady can say no when White Goodman puts on his shiny shoes. And then it goes to him in this white jumpsuit, like leather white jumpsuit with like an ascot or something.
He's definitely wearing an ascot.
I
Definitely.
love how blasé he is about telling her that he got her fired.
Oh yeah, like he's just like, great news, and she's like, what? And he's just like, you're fired. What? Yeah, I told them that you were stealing and drinking on the job, and they bought it.
That's his plan. That's his plan to woo her too. She's like, what?
I like how he automatically just goes in because he's like, there's no way that he's not into it, and he's like, yeah. So now there's no issue. We can be together. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like.
God,
Why? It's also,
he's a
like-
sociopath basically.
yeah.
In this
Also,
movie.
Also, one of my favorite lines in this is when he tries to go in on Catherine and she fucking snuffs him, and he's like, he just like fucking turns and he's like, nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody.
Oh,
That's like one of my favorite lines in this movie.
I
He,
thought
like,
you were gonna
snaps-
say
he snaps his finger.
I thought when you were gonna say when he's just like, I know you've been hiding feelings for me, and she's like, ew, yeah, nausea, and if you don't leave, like you're whatever, and he's just like, oh, you like the freaky stuff too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can be naughty too, real freaking naughty.
Freaking naughty.
I don't like you got to admit though, that scene at the end, or the part at the end of this scene where he like snaps his finger and Michelle
Oh.
chokes up on him head.
Like, yeah.
Dude, that is
I was-
fucking funny. It
Oh my
really
god,
is.
he just flips them off while they drive away on this little like Vespa.
Like
Behind him,
that's-
like has his arms around him.
that, yeah, he hops on, dude. Let's not forget how in stride he's running away and just jumps in the air and lands behind that guy on the seat. And fucking this huge man is driving a Vespa.
Michelle was waiting there the entire time too.
Yeah, he had to just be like around the corner or
In case
something.
things went south.
He literally just hid behind that bush, and when the dude snapped his fingers, he just pressed on the gas pedal a little bit.
Dude, the engine was already on too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Love this.
And then I love it. So as they're driving away, Vince Vaughn's character is like, well, at least that wasn't weird. And then that's when, like to your point, Corey, Vince Vaughn's just like, do I smell cookies? And then just walks into her house, and it's just all unicorns.
glad that wasn't weird. I'm gonna invite myself into your house.
Yeah.
I know you live alone.
Yeah. And then he offers her a perk package.
See, like unicorns.
God, she has a unicorn fetish. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
that's like the most character development, or I mean, not the most, but like, I feel like that was added in just to like give her like an extra.
It's
or
just
this
an extra
seemed like
joke,
she had, like, a
yeah.
layer or two. Yeah, because otherwise that didn't. She's kind of like an underdeveloped character.
She
It
just-
seemed like.
Otherwise,
Aside,
she
I mean,
showed
I
up.
think what's her face does really good, in that role, but still kind of like, especially
Very
like the
underwritten.
twist towards the end there.
Yeah, like they're the point of like, I guess her character is to be like, I feel like the point of her character originally was like, you're just gonna be the love interest, and then it was like rewritten that like, all right, well, we're gonna try and give you some more to do.
He demanded her husband beef up the role.
Yeah, like I feel like Ben Stiller was probably like, I don't think my wife should just be the love interest in this movie and end up just being the bisexual that makes out with everyone.
Yeah, at the very end, it's kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
Told you she was
Um,
a lesbian.
But so Christine Taylor agrees to join the Average Joe's dodgeball team, and then we get to their first game where Owen is like, "I got us all costumes. I designed them myself. Hope everything fits." And then he opens the box and it's all S&M gear.
Yeah. That's so. It's
I'm
funny
guessing-
too.
You must be daddy.
Yeah, after the game.
Well, dude, the funniest thing, because Jason Bateman and Gary Cole are the announcers.
They're so great.
And
MVP.
dude, but Jason Bateman has this great line when they're lining up and they're wearing like the leather uniforms. I forgot what Gary Cole says, but like Cotton or Jason Bateman's just like, yeah, I feel like I'm wearing, or I feel like I'm watching a Cher video, Cotton.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love the part when they walk out and Gary Coleman just like takes off his glasses and he's just like, "My sweet Jesus," and Jason Bateman's just like, "That's rad." And the guy in the crowd's just like, "Hey, asshole, you guys suck." And Vince Vaughn's just like, "Thanks, glad to be here in Vegas."
You know what's funny too? Oh, sorry. I didn't-
I like when my favorite banter between the two of them is when Cotton says something like, "Oh, this could be dangerous," and then fucking Jason Bateman's character basically says the same thing. He just
Yeah.
words it differently. Like,
Yeah.
Like he's blindfolded. Yeah, he will not be able to see well, Cotton.
Yeah.
But no, you know what's funny though about like the whole S&M or Leather Club or whatever? They're still hanging around by the finale and like cheering for the Average Joes and
Yeah.
like celebrating with them at the end. It's like they stuck around like the fucking.
There's so many weird background gags and stuff that are all throughout this
Yeah.
movie. Like so many jokes. Like if you look at the extras in like the dodgeball scenes, like when like they're playing, if you just look at the extras, a lot of them are just doing like weird shit and making like funny faces and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they end up winning their first game. And then that's when they meet the other team that's wearing the Average Joe's uniforms, which I thought was funny that like even though like I don't know if they were dodgeballers, but like they were wearing the Average Joe's like uniform. And so Vince Vaughn's just like, "Yeah, you must be daddy."
it is
I-
just really,
they were-
like,
dude, not
fucking
only that, they walk-
90-year-old man.
Not only that, they walk right onto the court too.
I'll be right back. You guys keep talking.
They walk, like no weirdness here. Like fucking, they just walk right onto the court. They let anybody on the court. There's no security apparently in the movie.
Not only did they walk onto the court, but they're waiting for them, like right at the end of the game too, perfectly.
They're like, "We know you got our shit on. Like,
I don't
that's
know,
us.
like
We're not leaving here without it." And then they never leave.
they didn't opt to just wear whatever, because I'm assuming they were gonna wear something else, because he surprises them at the last minute with those costumes, but they decide to go with the S&M gear anyway. So it's
It's kind of weird. I feel like all they had to do was look up into the crowd to see the people wearing their actual uniforms.
Yeah, or just like literally just wear whatever you like came into the fucking locker room with, like wear that over like assless chaps and like
So
I don't know if that
essentially-
would be a ploy, because fucking what's
Yeah.
her face? Ben Stiller's wife there looks fucking amazing in like what she's wearing. Everybody
Yeah,
else is
yeah.
just kind of like a slow and doughy white dude, and
Was
she looks like fucking.
Was it Justin Long or Joel David Moore's character that had the thing with like the fucking
Yeah. Why would you wear the gag?
yeah, and he just wore it like the whole match. He like had it in his mouth. It was fucking hilarious.
Oh god.
What do we get after this? Like a fucking montage of like you go back
Got a
and forth. You see like Globo Gym fucking smoking their competition.
Dude, like seriously, some of like, because they do have like a montage, but they have all these random ass team names that like you just know like whoever wrote this like came up with like on the fly, like fucking
Like
they're
the,
just like over like one night.
the fucking like lumberjack dudes. Like
Yeah,
everyone
like the
that's like Paul
lumberjacks.
Bunyan.
Skills that kills, like the fucking
Oh,
German
the-
team led by
the hip-hop.
David Hasselhoff.
The hip hop dancers. Oh yeah, David Hasselhoff fucking destroyed right there. He had like a line and he killed it.
Yeah.
And he fucking took his own picture and smashed it on the ground.
Oh, and he's yelling at the Germans.
He took his own picture and smashed it on the ground.
It's like a blink and you miss a cameo. All he does is like yell at them in German and then shatter a picture.
It's
Because
it's such a great joke because Germans apparently love Hasselhoff.
did you ever watch Norm Macdonald?
Oh, dude, they do.
Ever watch any Saturday Night, like the Saturday Night Live, the Weekend Update when Norm Macdonald hosted it? Dude, he constantly said Germans love David Hasselhoff. He would stick that joke anywhere into the update. Like it would be talking about Germany, and then at the end it would somehow come around to him saying Germans love David Hasselhoff. Dude, it is well known. The German.
Dude, Norm Macdonald had some great running gags, like when it came to jokes. Like, dude,
R.I.P.
like the OJ Simpson shit.
So we're at the part where we were just talking about the part where it was kind of like a montage of each team winning, and we were talking about the weirdness of the random weirdness of the teams that they played, like
Yeah.
the Paul Bunyan characters and
The hip hop dancers.
hip hop dance skills that kills.
Yeah, like I think are we out to the point where they're like celebrating or whatever, and the giant sign falls on Patches?
Oh yeah,
I think we're at that point.
Well, I wanted to say, I love the scene where Patches talks to Peter, and he's just like, "You're doing great out there on the floor. You and that muff diver are showing real potential." And Vince Vaughn's just like, "I don't think she's a muff diver," and he's just like, "Whatever." And then at the end of the conversation, he's just like, "I've got some hookers in my room." Like,
want to celebrate? He's like, "No, man, I'm good on that."
and then he's just like queer.
Dude, I'm like 80% sure they just left the camera on when Vince Vaughn was
Yeah.
talking to Rick Torn.
Yeah, because Rip Torn's just like queer and then just drives away.
Software.
And so then they win. Well, did you guys do the talk about the game where Gordon finally gets like pissed off?
Oh no! When he sees his when he's like, you got to get mad. Like they can't get this dude to get angry, and that's the one thing he needs. And he's like he's the only one left. He's like, you got to get angry, and he's like running it through his head. He
He's
looks
freaking
up
out.
into the crowd and sees some dude fucking like trying to mack his wife, and then his kids are looking at him all fucking disappointed and shit. He just snaps.
He has the worst like reaction to getting cuckolded, like of all.
Yeah. Well, then he gets so pissed off, and then that's when, to your point, where like these dodgeballs are like bricks because he throws the last one and it knocks this dude's face where he's like a bunch of spit flies out of his mouth and he just topples over.
Well, dude, he
I feel like
basically John Wicks him with fucking dodgeballs.
Yeah.
I feel like they were trying to like make it a shot like the dude got punched in the face, like when they show the fucking like the replay on a boxing fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See the spit fly out of the dude's fucking mouth.
Yeah.
And so then that's when Justin Long asked Peter, he's like, "You really think we can make it?" And Peter's like, "Yeah, as long as we got Patches." And then they go to whatever like casino or restaurant or whatever, and Patches is like, "Tomorrow we're gonna beat those global gym bastards," and then the luck of the Irish sign falls on him.
The irony.
And Christine Taylor is like, "Do you want to talk to your teammates?" And Vince Vaughn's just like, "Yeah, sorry your coach just got crushed by 2 tons of irony Hallmark."
And he's like fucking pissed. He just like takes off. So they have this argument about like him leading the team, and he's like, he says like, what am I gonna tell them? Blah blah blah. And then they go back to the table, and they all just start like questioning him, like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? What's the game plan? And he's just like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So he goes towards the bathroom, and Steve the Pirate comes out of the bathroom, and he's like, "Agar," and whatever, and fucking Vince Vaughn slams him against the wall, and is just like, "You're not a pirate." And
It's sad. Like, that's a sad scene.
It is a pretty sad scene, and then he fucking just goes out the exit door. He's gone. He's out of here.
Well, as much as we shit on this movie, I mean, we're not shitting on it. I don't mean to say that, but like we bring up the fact that this movie would be canceled in a heartbeat. It actually does have kind of like a sweet, like, self-acceptance. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it has a
it's,
good
it's all
message.
about being. It's all about accepting yourself. You know, that's really the message. Is like be okay with who you are.
Yeah.
But I
I'm not
love.
okay, and you're not okay, but it's okay.
Yeah. So, I love that when Vince Vaughn goes back to his hotel room, and Ben Stiller's just like, "Donde está la biblioteca, Pedro?" And Vince Vaughn is just like, "What?"
Dude, you know what that means in Spanish, though, right?
It means where is the library, Peter?
Yeah, this is literally the
Like,
only line I know in Spanish.
I'm
The
opening up.
library.
Like,
I'm
he's like,
opening up some gyms in Mexico, just brushing up on my Spanish.
and then Michelle comes out of the bathroom. And he's just like, "Hope you don't mind that Michelle used your bathroom. He was having some stomach issues." And Vince Vaughn's just like, "You mind closing that?"
This is low key. The fucking one of the funniest things is when he's like, "You mind closing that?"
Yeah.
And then there's like this pause. Yeah, okay. I guess not. I guess we all have to. We all have to suffer.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn's just like, "For all of us, babe." And then yeah, and so Ben Stiller's character is trying to convince Vince Vaughn to sell the gym, and he's just like, I don't know if you've ever seen what $100,000 looks like, except for maybe in the movies, but I can assure you that something gets lost in the translation. There's just this big briefcase, he opens it up, and it's just this one stack of hundreds. And he's just like, money, dodgeball.
Yeah. He's like giving this whole speech, like basically, like, dude, I'll buy you. Let me buy you out right now. You could do a lot of things with this money. You could invest it. You could fucking give it all to charity. I don't care. Just sign this.
Yeah.
I think that was a good villain. It was a good villain speech, though. Like for this,
it's great.
you know what I mean? Like for what this movie's, because he like has this whole. It's like, what do you think's gonna happen when you lose? They're all gonna blame you.
Mhm.
So I mean, I thought it was like well done and everything for how like fucking like absurd like this.
Oh
scene
yeah,
is.
especially when like,
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
well, especially when like Ben Stiller's like, they worship you. You're their Fonzie, Peter. Hey.
Fucking way, like he's such a fucking jackass, and Vince Vaughn never takes him seriously in this movie. But there's a point in all his bullshit during this scene where he's being the character, but then he just gets serious for like that 30 seconds where he's like, "Yeah, what are you gonna?" He's like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "They're gonna blame you if they lose. You know that." Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Like really, really being smart and fucking basically backing him into a corner, so he's kind of like, yeah, this dude's right. You know what I mean?
It's like
Mhm.
the evil side of the character kind of comes out
Yeah.
there, or like the deceptive, like not just like the fucking oblivious moron. Like
Yeah.
Yes. Until after that scene when he's like, I know that you know that I know that you may know that I know.
I don't think that you thought that I was dumb as I once was, or like whatever the fuck. He said. That's the funniest thing though about Dwight Goodman is just the blind confidence, because everything he's like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. He's purely confident in like everything that he
Oh
says.
yeah, oh my god, he's hilarious.
It's all the way down to his character not being able to not have the last word. So then he just starts saying shit because it's like none of it makes sense, but it's because he's like getting the last word. He thinks
Mhm.
it's fucking hilarious.
Mhm.
So then we don't really know what he does at this point, because it kind of it cuts that scene like right when he's like, money or dodgeball. So you don't know what happens. Then so then we see Pirate Steve, and fucking he's walking down the street like reflecting on what Peter said to him, and then he looks in the mirror, he sees a mirror, looks in it, and then some dude drives by and fucking throws like a milkshake at him.
Yells, "Go back to Treasure Island."
And he's just down. This is actually really sad. Like,
Well, dude, it's almost like that movie, The Weatherman. He like throws like sometimes like brag, like
the fucking
kind of like
they throw the fucking big gulps at him.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then and then Owen. They're all about to go back to the room, and then Owen says to Dwight, he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna I'm gonna go to the drink, have a bathroom, or I'm gonna go to the drink, have a bathroom, or go
Yeah,
to the,
it's like whatever, man. Just wash your
wash your
hands.
hands. Yeah, and then he talks
Oh, yeah,
to
it's like he's awkward, like stammering over his like lines and whatnot.
yeah.
Have you guys I don't know her name, but like she's in a lot of movies. That girl that underneath all the ugly makeup.
Oh, her name is like
Remember?
Missy Phi something.
Do
Missy
you
Pyle?
notice though at the very like end of the movie when they're all like a group or whatever, all happy at the end, being like, "Oh yeah, we're average Joes," blah blah blah. All the ugly makeup is gone, and she just looks exactly like how she
Yeah.
looks in real life.
Yeah, Missy Pyle. That's her name.
Yeah.
She's in like she always has like small roles. Like she was in 50 First Dates. She was in Charlie and the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Basically, because we were talking about character actors before, she's like essentially like a character actress.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yep.
She's good though. She's really funny in this. I thought.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she had that movie with fucking Larry the Cable Guy, so there was that.
Yeah. I don't think anybody.
Witless protection or some shit like that. You know, some bullshit.
Never. I fucking hate Larry the Cable Guy.
I also hate Larry the Cable Guy. I just for some reason my mind hates me, so my mind is like, yeah. When you hear Misty Pyle, the first thing that comes to your mind is going to be witless protection with Larry the Cable Guy. That's how my mind works. I don't know.
That's rough.
It is.
Dude, like genuine comics. I think genuine comics like hate it just like due to popularity alone. Like, do you remember Greg Giraldo at the I think it was the Jeff Foxworthy roast? He like literally like in the middle of the he's like, "Why the fuck are you so popular?" It was like genuine like hateful.
So then
Owen bags the Romanian chick from
Romanovia.
Romanovia, my bad. So he bags her, and
their
then
nuclear power plant was the number.
then we just get all this like kind of like splintering of the team. Like they're about to go out there and fucking that girl from the cheating thing in the beginning comes up to Justin Long like, "Oh my God, we need you. My boyfriend broke his arm.
Broke every bone in his body.
Every bone in his body."
The third act breakup.
Yeah, and then so Justin Long's like, "Oh, but I got to be here for my team," and then he's like, "I have to go now," and she's like, "No, you'll be back before your game," and he was like, "Okay, fine, I'll go," and then.
And then
three people and there's like three people in the locker room.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts is when Peter's like gone or whatever, and so Dwight is saying to Owen, he's like, "We're still missing the lovesick or the teenage lovesick puppy or whatever, and Steve the pirate." And Owen's just like, "Who's Steve the pirate?" And Dwight's just like, Steve the pirate.
We didn't have a pirate on our team.
We have a pirate on our team?
Steve, you know, the guy that dresses like a pirate.
He's like, it's funny because the when that happens, like there's another scene, then they cut back to it and he's like, "Yar, scurvy Steve, come on." Like he's still like dwelling on it.
Yeah. And so then they get to the court after, because not everyone's there, they essentially forfeit the game.
Hey, look, we get Peter drinking at the bar, and fucking Lance Armstrong makes him feel like a real piece of shit.
Yeah, well, that scene does not age very well.
Yeah,
considering what happened with Lance Armstrong.
He makes like a drop or something about having his medals. He's like, "Yeah, after I won the Tour de France," it's like, "Yeah, motherfucker, you were on steroids."
Yeah, like no wonder.
Oh, he's like, "I won the Tour de France." He's like, "I had brain, ball, and lung cancer all at the same time, and I won the Tour de France 5 times."
Yo, I know he had a testicular cancer. Is there any truth to that he had like brain cancer and lung cancer too at the same time?
I don't know. I feel like that might have been added.
I'm
kind of fucked up.
That's a joke.
No, I can't believe that he actually. I can't believe that he lied about having multiple cancers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's lied about worse things.
Yeah, I mean, he lied about the steroids, and it's like that's pretty fucked up. But anyways, yeah. So like that scene doesn't really age that well because when I see him on the screen now, I'm like, ooh, you're not so widely well liked anymore.
It's not like
essentially he just basically convinces Peter to go back to the team while they're about to forfeit.
Yeah.
And he steps up and they're all happy.
Like he guilts him in. He's like, well, I guess you wouldn't have anything to regret for the rest of your life if you didn't. So,
That was actually pretty good. That was
yeah. I mean, he was all right for
Oh yeah, I mean he was funny.
Yeah.
So then yeah.
So
Peter
they
goes-
show up. They show up, and then fucking Gordon is like, what Dwight's like, yeah, you already forfeited. It's too late. Good job showing up. Blah blah blah. And he starts trying to take that thing, that fucking like it looks like a goddamn scepter from William Shatner. And Gordon's like, hey, there's a bylaw. He's like, you don't have to forfeit or whatever. So, but
What's the
Dwight
bylaw?
tried to take. He's like, it's too late now. I gotta go. It's fine.
And so they go to the panel and they have to get like 4 thumbs up or whatever from the panel, so that they can play. And the very last thumbs up is Chuck Norris, and I love that like Vince Vaughn character looks up and he's like, "Thank you, Chuck Norris," and Chuck Norris is just like, "Thank you, Peter LaFleur," and Vince Vaughn is just like.
Like it's like the classic like Chuck Norris like thumbs up.
Yeah.
Good use of good use of cameos in this movie because
awesome cameos.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like fucking that was like the Chuck Norris scene in Sidekicks, man.
Yeah.
Fucking parodied that shit. It was great.
And so then they play the final game. And it's pretty normal. There's one scene where the cheerleader girl calls out to Justin Long's character and is like, "I love you," and he's like, "I love you too," and then he gets hit, and White Goodman is like, "Joni loves Chachi," and it's like, like why? Like, what does that mean?
The delivery is what makes it.
Yeah.
If it were like
Such a
anybody
stupid
else
line.
saying that line, you'd be like, what?
It's such a dumb line.
Chachi. It is like one of those. It's just funny just because he's the one saying it.
Yeah. Like again, anyone else says that line and it's the dumbest thing ever. But just his delivery. And so then everyone is pretty much defeated. Vince Vaughn throws a dodgeball and hits Michelle, but at the same time, Ben Stiller's character throws a dodgeball and hits Peter LaFleur. And so Global Jim thinks that they win for a minute. And what's actually kind of funny is that was supposed to be the original ending. The movie was supposed to end right there with Global Jim winning.
Yeah, I heard that too. Like it was just gonna abruptly end there, like roll the credits.
Yeah, which is super weird. And then that's when
that would have been such a troll though, like to the audience.
Oh,
like,
it would have been the worst ending.
Like I said, like when I went to go see it in the theaters, like the audience was totally into it, like laughing and shit, like as absurd as it was.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, it would have been a terrible ending. And then that's when the referee is like double fault, sudden death. Yeah. And then that's when Peter LaFleur like takes the bandana that Patches O'Houlihan gave him and is like, "Come on, talk to me. And then Rip Torn comes up and he's just like, "Listen up, crotch stain."
Dude, I love how there's like stains on the rag too.
Oh my god,
drinking shit. Like looks like it hasn't been washed in years.
Oh, it's so fucking gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he like drops his wisdom, and then he's like, then he even is like, "Goodbye."
Oh yeah. Like, well, he's just like, "Bye bye."
Just goes away, and he wraps it around his head like fucking Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
oh shit!
Suitable ending though to like the whole
Well, yeah. So so there's the sudden death. White Goodman, loses. Peter LaFleur flings the dodgeball, it hits White Goodman, makes him fly back like 5 feet. And then Average Joe's wins. Ben Stiller is like, "You signed your gym over to me last night. Remember? Suck failure, freaks." And then
Fuck for all your freaks.
and then Ben Stiller and so everyone's like, "Is this true?" And Vince Vaughn is like, "Yeah, like I did." And money or money won is a lot better than money earned. And Ben Stiller is just like, he's a philosophizer now. And so then we learned that Vince Vaughn betted on Average Joe's to win, so that $50,000 becomes $5 million. And Vince Vaughn is like, I could use this money and I could, invest in the controlling stake of Global Gym, which as of last night is now Average Joe's. And so they win. And then, there's like that little commercial where Vince Vaughn is like, "Hey, just letting you know you're fine just the way you are. But if you feel like getting in shape, making a couple friends, come on down here to Average Joe's gym." And it's super cute and everything. And then they cut to Ben Stiller back in his fat suit. And he's just like, "Spare me. I won that tournament. Fucking Chuck Norris." And then that's how the movie ends.
What's funny about that? Do you know, is that the same apartment Vince Vaughn was living in the
I think it
beginning of
is.
the movie? It's like the same couch. It's like the same background.
I think
I was
it is.
expecting like the dog to like show up too.
I think it is.
It's like, I mean, it's funny. I mean,
oh yeah.
He's just like wearing a cat suit. He's like has like a fucking giant ass like chicken wing suit.
Yeah.
Spare me.
And then there is that post credit scene, which I personally don't like it. I don't really think it's that funny. I know that was definitely for like the young teenagers to see him doing the My Milkshake thing.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
they like
I
end
didn't
the
make it that
actual,
far. I
like,
turned
movie.
that shit off when the credits started rolling. So.
Yeah, because it's so much better if it just ends with fucking Chuck Norris.
Well, yeah, that's like the perfect line, like to end on. Like I remember seeing it. It's like he resents Chuck Norris now. Dude, that shit really was funny though.
So that is Dodgeball, a true underdog story. So usually at this part in the episode, Chris and I kind of talk about what like our favorite and least favorite parts of the movie are. So I guess for you, Corey, what would you say is like, are there any parts of this movie that you don't like, or any actors or scenes that you just really can't get behind?
I guess some parts haven't aged well. There are so many like comedy tropes in this movie. Like every character as well as like they're portrayed are like kind of like a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
But like you don't really like the movie like works, so you don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the actor, the black bald dude on the team. Like I've literally never seen that dude in anything else but this movie. And I thought he was like actually like pretty funny.
He was
Oh,
Chris Williams.
Yeah, or no, the guy who plays the guy who plays Dwight is Chris Williams.
He was the only really thing I know him from, he was in that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where he played like a gangster rapper and his name was Crazy Eyed Killer.
Yeah.
What
like, I don't know, like because it's a very like stereotypical movie, but I think that's the point of it. So
Yeah.
it's things that I don't like. There's not really like it's one of those movies like even if you don't like it's like you don't hate like anything about this movie. Like there's nothing where it's like too eye rolling or cringy or whatnot. It's like
nothing like stands up that would bother you.
Yeah.
I will say though, like the amount of like gags with like people getting hit with balls and like we were saying earlier, like what are these dodgeballs made of? Like there are so many like scenes in this movie where people just like get hit in like a slapstick kind of way, and it's kind of like I was saying, like in Idiocracy, ow my balls, like that's kind of like part of this movie's humor. No, there's not. I think it still holds up pretty good, all things considered. It's like a really, really quotable movie, mostly because of Ben Stiller, but
Yeah.
it's, you know, not actually, it's not really like anything I like really hate about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I struggle to find something in this movie that I really dislike, and the only thing I can say is just that like post credit scene, which again, like
Yeah.
once the credits start rolling, you can just turn it off and it doesn't exist.
That just seemed like Ben Stiller dicking around, like, you know, in the fat suit. Like somebody thought, like, oh, that's funny if you sing like, you know,
Yeah,
that milkshake song. So
yeah.
yeah,
I really had nothing. I had nothing that I disliked about this movie.
yeah,
Um,
it's good. It's like basketball. It's like good heart. It's just funny for the sake of being funny. It does not take itself seriously in the slightest.
Yeah.
It's a movie where, like, it's a joke per minute, but it also has a coherent storyline, which
Yeah.
helps if you're
Like-
gonna fuck rapid fire comedy at me. So
Yeah.
like,
And
it's
it
not
has like a positive message too. Like it's not like a cynical comedy movie like so many comedies are now, or they're very cynical. This is very much like you could tell that everyone during the filming of this movie was just having a good time and was just joking around.
Yeah, like you said before, like it's technically not a spoof, but it is borderlining on that.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, it's not going to be a spoof like anything in particular, but like I think that's a problem with like a lot of like spoof movies. Though it's because the story itself is just like
Paper thin.
threaded, teared. And this movie, as silly as it is, like the story is at least like it keeps going. Like it's not. It's impossible to get confused with the story in this movie.
Yeah.
So
So I rating out of 10. What would you give this movie?
Either a 7 or an 8 out of like in terms of like just enjoyment factor. I would, because when I first saw it, like dude, like I know I've already said this, but like the theater I saw it like was laughing at all the gags. The scene at the very end where he gets hit, where the blindfold scene where he gets hit, people are like clapping and shit. So it's a very crowd pleaser of like a comedy, and it is like very funny like in certain scenes. So I don't know, like a solid 7 out of 10, or maybe an 8 out of 10. You know, like
That's fair.
because it came out in 2004 too.
Yeah.
You forget like this is already like a 17-year-old movie. So,
Yeah.
considering it's aged this well, like you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things that it taking place in the 90s actually kind of helps it, age a little bit better than if it was like a modern day 2004.
Right. That's something that me and Mark talked about earlier, where it was like he was like, "Did you notice that like it's 1987 and then it's only 6 years later?" And I was like, not until I watched this today did I notice that it was taking place in the 90s, because you wouldn't have any idea. Like they don't beat you over the head with 90s stereotypes and shit, so you wouldn't even know. Like,
Yeah.
Well, funny because they were doing it. I can understand movies nowadays going back, like, all right, this movie takes place in the 90s because you don't want to worry about like cell phones or anything. So, but this movie just did it like, it's like, yeah, it's the fucking 90s.
Yeah. It's very authentic where it doesn't draw
Perfect
attention to it. It's just takes place in it.
it's taking
Yeah.
place. Go ahead. Oh, me? I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I can't give it lower or higher. It's like there's nothing in this movie that like pissed me off or was like, oh, that was kind of dumb. Like
It has like the perfect enjoyment factor.
rapid fire jokes, like everything in the comedy was pulled off extremely fucking well, like by comedy geniuses, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody in this movie, side characters that we know from other movies where they were side characters, makes them memorable. So we know these people. They fucking blow it out of the park. Each fucking side character is hilarious. I'll watch anything with Stephen Root, dude, because Stephen Root is a goddamn fine gentleman. Stephen Root is on a show that's on HBO Max. I think they started filming the 3rd season, but it's been really
He is in Barry. Oh shit.
before the pandemic. season 2 had ended, and then the pandemic happened, and it's been on fucking hiatus. But they were filming Barry, another season of Barry, and I highly recommend that show.
Such a good show.
Because Stephen Root is fucking fantastic in it.
Mm-hmm. Dude,
Yeah.
Barry. So they're filming season 3 now. Finally.
Yeah. Just I can't say enough good things about this movie. It's 17 years old. A lot of times I'll go back and watch some comedies from this period that I thought were funny, and they're not that funny anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Certain movies like from
the American Pie movies are fucking dreadful now. Like when I watch
those
them,
have not aged well at all.
they are fucking terrible.
those are not good movies. Yeah, I mean, I would probably give this like a 7.5 or an 8. Just because this movie's so funny. It's just light humor. As I said, there's just so many like funny things that just happen in this movie that like you don't even catch, the first time you watch it. But yeah, so I guess with this, comedy team, what would you guys say are kind of like your favorite movies from this team, from like the Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson kind of crew?
I would say, Wedding Crashers is like definitely it's aged pretty well too. Like Wedding Crashers is pretty fun. I think that works more of like a solid movie than like laugh out loud. You can like revisit it. It is like a funny movie, but it's not like goofy fun, or it is kind of goofy funny, but I'm trying to think of this team though, like Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn, like Owen Wilson, like the
Will Ferrell, kind of that whole sort of crew that there was in the early 2000s.
Old School. I think Old School.
Old School is a really good one. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's Night at the Roxbury. I like. If we're talking the Will Ferrell crew, that's one I watch a lot, dude. And it's still fucking pretty funny to me.
I think Night at the Roxbury's aged. It's funnier now than it was back then.
Yeah,
back then it like got like the, kind of negative reviews. But nowadays people are like, dude, this is just fucking goofy and fun.
Like when I was younger and I would watch Night at the Roxbury, it was a movie that kind of annoyed me a lot. Like watching it, I'd be like, Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan are so obnoxious, and then Molly Shannon's character like pissed me off every time I saw her. And then kind of growing up and rewatching it, I'm like, all right, I see what they're going for now.
I remember because it came out in like 96, 97, so I wasn't like super familiar with the characters, but there's a scene in the beginning that grabbed me where Chris Kattan's like walking through like a dance club, and there's this guy breakdancing, and the guy literally like Mortal Kombat sweeps his legs out from under him and like knocks him on his ass. And I just remember that like after that scene, I was like, all right, I need to watch the rest of it.
One of my favorite things in that movie is that club owner. And he keeps mentioning that his like fucking assistant is touching his ass.
Oh yeah, did you touch my ass?
Then there's and he goes, sir. Somebody's like, sir, do we come from Japan? Or do we come from Japan? He says, not physically possible for him to have touched your ass.
It's Colin Quinn too as the
Colin Quinn. Dude, Colin Quinn is fucking awesome too.
I think one of my favorite movies, and I remember the three of us talking about it the other day, is Starsky and Hutch, and I think that movie's so underrated too.
It's another like good, fun, quotable movie.
Well, I think that like Dodgeball and Starsky and Hutch just aren't talked about very much in that whole kind of echelon of movies.
My girlfriend made me turn that off last night.
Starsky and Hutch?
Yeah. She was like, we're pretty stoned, and I put it on, and she's like, I watched like 20 minutes of it, and she was like, I'm not into this right now.
Oh no, I love Starsky and Hutch, and I love one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when Ben Stiller accidentally shoots like the iguana, and he's just like, "You should have put that thing in a terrarium," and the guy's just like, "What the fuck is a terrarium?"
And then you have that one guy that knows everything. He just starts spitting the fact.
He's just like, a terrarium is like an eco-sustainable habitat.
They're all super knowledgeable about.
They're all super knowledgeable, but none of them mentioned, like, it took them 5 minutes to get to Snoop Dogg, who casually mentions that
Who grew his tail back.
back, but none of them knew that. It took Snoop Dogg to be like, "Yo, everybody put your fucking guns down. The tail's gonna come back." Like,
Yeah.
that part
There's-
was really fucking funny.
It's a
It's
great
a
movie.
subtle line in that movie. It's like a subtle part in the movie, but you remember like the dance off scene or whatever where Ben Stiller's like all coked up and having like a dance off, and it's Patton Oswalt doing like the announcements, and he starts doing and the movie takes place in the late 70s, and like Ben Stiller starts doing the robot. It's from the future, 1984. He's doing
Yeah.
the robot.
Yeah. I also love I love the introduction of Owen Wilson's character too, because he's undercover and they like rob like whatever like bodega or something, and Owen Wilson's like, guys, I'm undercover here, and then he turns around to like all the criminals and he's just like, how did they find out?
I like when they're questioning him later at the police station, and he's like I've been going, like, they were talking about how many robberies there had been in the past month or two, and he's just like, yeah, I'm undercover. He was like, I start low. He's like, I work my way up to the top, get the big guy.
Yeah.
They're like, well, there hasn't been any evidence or money turned in from any of these robberies.
No, there's another great line when when they first become partners and they find like a body floating in the river, and he's like, Ben Stiller's like looks like you just fucking passed your last ticket essay. He's like, Owen Wilson's like, did you just tough talk a dead body?
Yeah. And then when they're interviewing the cheerleader and she gets naked in front of them and they're just like, and what's your weight? And she's just like, what does that have to do with anything? And Ben Stiller is like, it has everything to do with anything. Just answer the question.
Yeah. It has everything to do with everything.
It's such a good movie.
I remember Chris
movie-
Penn's in that movie too.
What?
Yeah,
Chris Penn, he plays like the asshole cop.
Oh yeah. Well, that movie's that's got another pretty big cast with Jason Bateman's in that movie also. Carmen Electra, Amy Smart. The guy who plays their captain, he's somebody big too. I can't remember his name.
Fred Willard.
Yeah.
Fred Williams.
Like he was like a big guy in the he is a big guy, but like From Dusk Till Dawn too. He was awesome in that.
Like his big thing is using all the blaxploitation movies in like the 70s.
Yeah.
Super well known for them shits. Yeah, he was like
Larry Cohen movies.
Him and Jim Brown who used to play football, then became a fucking movie star.
Yeah.
Like always in them fucking badass gangster fucking movies from the 70s.
And like Larry Cohen movies too. Like
Larry Cohen movies for sure.
Yeah.
What else are we doing here on this? What else are we doing?
We're just kind of going on movie tangents at this point.
Well,
I like it. I'm not complaining.
yeah. Well, I
Like,
think
I'm just like
that's the
like-
fun part about movies like this. It kind of like just makes you talk about like other fun fucking like movies.
It's the fucking film section podcast, my man.
yeah.
Yeah, dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah. So, well, we have been recording for about like an hour and a half now.
shit,
So.
Oh, shit. All right.
I do kind of want to end this actually with a little bit of self promotion because Cory is on this podcast. So for anyone that listens or watches this podcast, which is like a grand total of like maybe 5 people,
5 listeners.
I wrote a book. Cory did the artwork for this book right here. I'm also wearing this.
Oh, shit.
This is a book called Mischief Night that I wrote in about like a month and a half, and I messaged you, I think it was like end of October or something, and I was like, yo, can you do some artwork for me? And it started off as like, can you just do the cover art? And then I was like, actually, could you do like a picture for every story that I write in this?
Yeah. Well, I remember when you initially told me that, I was like, like I don't want to tell you that I can do it, and then like a month from now be like, oh shit, I only came up with like a
He
small
was-
handful. I mean, through circumstance, because like I not literally just started, but I was a couple months into like the new job that I just started too. So I was literally like going to work, coming home. But I do like that style of drawing. If I was like forced to draw something that like I had like no like interest or like
Yeah.
something like that, but like the horror genre, especially like when he said he wanted them black and white, I was like, oh, okay. Like I kind of, because I do, I mean, I try not to copy it too much, but I tried to make it a little bit in the style of like scary stories tell in the dark, with the kind of like black and white and eerie kind of like almost like dreamlike kind of like images.
Oh yeah.
That makes sense.
mean, it works perfectly because the book is a anthology that's sort of like this weird kind of backdoor novel. And there's 10 stories that are pretty much all like very loosely inspired by like actual nightmares I've had, and so the stories get really fucking weird. Like there's one story that's about like a bunch of ladybugs that fly into the diner and basically just kill people. There's another, it's like a body horror story where this guy's like teeth are falling out and he starts getting cuts and everything. There's an old woman who's kind of like a witch a little bit, who basically has complete control over it. But it's very much just like a nightmare. It's a book of nightmares, and the artwork that Cory fucking did for this book was insane. Like fucking crazy. And it was so funny too, because I remember you were like, I don't know if I'll be able to do 10. And I was like, all right, well, could you just do like 3? Because the book is split up into 3 parts. And so I was like, could you do that? And then like 1 week went by, and like Cory would send me like a picture, and then another day would go by, or like a couple of days would go by. He would send me another picture. And then it was, once I got to like the 3rd or 4th picture that you sent me, I was like, oh shit, he's sending me a picture for every story. Like,
I mean, I play like with drawing like I am with video games. Like I'll be like, all right, I'll smoke, and then I'll sit down and do this for like an hour, and then 4 or 5 hours have passed, and I'm like, hey Mark, like hey, like, I mean, I think it worked out for the best, because you said like, oh, can you just do like 3? And I was like, I don't know if that'll look good if they're all like collage together. You know what I mean? Like it might not have like the same effect if you just every single one their individual thing. But it ended up working out because like I was starting a new job at the time, or my new job at the time, but it wasn't like, at no point was it ever like time consuming. You weren't like pressuring me at all either. Like, hey Cory, so when's that new you weren't lumberging me.
Like all I did was like I told you sort of when I was planning on releasing the book, and it's like, whatever you have at this point is cool, if and I mean the artwork complements these stories so much more than like I could have ever dreamed, because I mean the stories are cool. There's a couple stories that, even looking back when I read them, like, all right, but
This
the
art's
artwork,
crazy, man. This art's crazy, man. The words are cool.
yeah, no, that's really, there's a story.
The thing is,
like the words are
the
cool.
thing is, it's art. I think. Well, no, I genuinely think it's the best kind of horror anthology, because there's something for, like, if you're a fan of the genre, there's something for everybody. There's something. There's like some stories in there that are very, very like psychological in sense, but some are just like straight up like horror. Or like featuring like monsters. But I think those are the best kind of anthologies. That's why I really liked it. I think like the like the order of the stories too is like one of the best parts, because you do notice in like each story there's something kind of interconnected to another story, or something like related. But I think it ends on a high note with a holiday heroine, because that's probably my favorite story out of like the entire thing.
That's what I was telling him.
yeah.
I was like, he told me it was an anthology, and I was like, oh, I was like, those are like some of my favorite books that I read. Like,
Dude, absolutely.
my favorite Stephen King books are the short story ones, like different
Mhm.
seasons.
Yeah,
and
like nightmares and nightmares and
Yeah.
dreamscapes. Different
Those are my favorite Stephen King books because you're getting little stories where I like Stephen King is very like he's very bloated in his writing. Like he could describe a
Oh, yeah.
tree. He could describe a tree for
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and that's the reason I like his short stories because he has to it's beginning, middle, end. Get there. You gotta get there. Like it's I love that shit. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this book, I mean, it was, first off, the book was just super fun to write because it was like it started off as like really just an exercise for me to get ready to write like the second Bear's Den book. And it was after I wrote the first story, which is titled Table for Four, where the characters are basically on like this weird endless loop that like they can't escape out of. And so I was like, all right. And so I decided to extend it. And the name Mischief Diner, for people that don't know, is like a year ago or so, maybe a little like a year and a half ago now, probably. The three of us were talking about possibly trying to come up with like a screenplay or writing a movie. And that movie was going to be called Mischief Night. And
Yeah.
I remember us talking about how like one of the central locations was going to be like a diner or like a restaurant. And so I kind of took that and then I purposely misspelled mischief because I remember every single time I spelled it, Chris would tell me, hey, this is spelled wrong. And so I was like, all right, well, fuck it. I'm just going to spell it wrong on purpose and make a reason for it.
Just a
Yo,
fuck you to Chris.
Yo, I remember when you showed me the book and I was like, yeah, Mischief spelled wrong. I still
spelled wrong,
said he released the book and I still tried to correct him. He's like, yeah, it's on purpose.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it is. No, look it up. It's spelled wrong.
Yeah. No,
I don't know,
it
man.
was,
That's not a good look.
you know, and it was so funny because when I ordered this shirt, I got an email from the company that was like, hey, mischief is spelled wrong. Do you want us to fix that for you? And so I had to call them and I was like, no, it's the cover of my book. Like it's purposely spelled wrong.
That'd be great if you were adamant when they called too. That it's not spelled wrong. It's like, fuck you, it's spelled wrong. Look it up,
Yeah.
asshole. Just like hang up on him. You're like debating with them. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's spelled right.
Yeah.
Fucking
No,
dumbass.
you don't understand. It's spelled wrong.
This fucking
yeah.
moron on the phone says I don't know how to spell.
But the misspelling is addressed in the very first story, in like the very first like page of the book. It's addressed why it's spelled wrong. But yeah, it's a weird book. The stories get stranger and stranger. Cory, I know you read it. Chris, I don't know if you've read it yet.
No.
My sister read it. My sister read it too. She
finished it?
She's like, yeah. But she was doing like what I was doing. Like I was reading like a story every night, like before I go to bed. So that's probably like that's the best part about or like books like that, like anthologies. Like you can kind of just like sit down with one and over the span of a night, like just finish one and then move on to the other.
Yeah.
But yeah. Again, like a really, really well written book.
Yeah, dude, it was a fun book to write. As you said, the story, it's all different genres because I wanted to play in different genres. Like I wanted to make one story a body horror. I wanted to make one like kind of an existential sort of weird one. The final story, Holiday Heroine, the last story of the book is like it's not really much of a horror story. It's just really fucking weird. But is incidentally probably my second favorite story after Desperate Actions, which Desperate Actions is to anyone that reads it, Desperate Actions is the one that to me plays out most like an actual nightmare does.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another like main one on there because that has to more I think that has to more deal with like personal guilt and like living with like things that like thankfully like most of us never have to like experience it, but like be in a situation where it's like, can I live with myself after, you know, doing something awful? And but I think that like story especially like tackles that like that whole idea like perfectly.
Yeah, it was so fun. There is going to be a volume 2 to this book at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a very sporadic writer, so I'll be writing 5 books at once, and whichever one I start getting further on, I'll be like, all right, this is what I'm gonna stick to, and then a month and a half, I'll be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go to this other book. So we'll see. My plan is to have another book out by like February, but
Word.
I am also talking to publishers.
Synopsis, dude. Like,
So what?
no, I was gonna say like as soon as you have those like synopsis for like these stories, man, just send them my way, and
Yeah. Well, I sent
that's a
you.
fun thing about like.
I'll do my doodles.
Well, I sent you the synopsis for the
I'll be
book that I'm
doodling over
currently.
here, Mark.
I did send you the synopsis for the novella that I'm currently writing.
I just sent Mark like a selfie of me like doodling like. I'm doing my doodles.
Yo, you're gonna know when Mark comes out with a new book. He's just gonna call you and be like, "Hey, Cory, get out your easel."
Mark, next time you talk to Mark, he's like, I just keep getting these weird texts from Cory.
So what were you saying, Mark? What were you saying before we got carried away here?
I don't even remember.
You said you were talking to.
This has been fun, though.
What?
Publishers.
You said you were talking to publishers, right?
Oh well, yeah. So publishing is expensive. Everyone, shit is not cheap. But the plan is I've been talking to a publishing company the last couple of weeks now, and this company wants to pick up my book. They want to publish it. They want to distribute it. They want to promote it. It's just a lot of money, and so hopefully, in the next couple months, my plan is by like maybe spring or summer, to officially get started on officially publishing some of my work. Mischief Diner being the first book, where instead of going to Amazon and seeing an independently published book that doesn't maybe have the best formatting, you could in maybe like a year or so after they format it and everything, you could walk into Barnes and Noble and see it. So that's kind of the plan. Still going to take a couple of months and a couple $1,000, but plugging away, it's the start of the dream. So
you got this.
Oh yeah, man.
This has been fucking fantastic.
Might as well go for it, man.
Yeah.
This actually was really fun. This is actually first podcast I've ever been on. So
hell yeah,
I'm a big
dude.
fan of podcasts.
This is so I guess we could probably end it. This was what, episode 11?
Episode 11, Dodgeball.
What are we doing next week?
One fucking movie.
Next week is what, matinee?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Spaced out for a second.
Yeah, I spaced out. Yeah, it's matinee with John Goodman.
Chris is like, I'm gonna be in Florida. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. I'm just kidding. I don't even know what I meant by that.
But thanks anyone and everyone for watching the Film Section podcast. Comment, like, subscribe. Follow us at twitter.com/thefilmsection. Thanks again, Cory, for coming on here, talking about Dodgeball with us. Thanks for doing fucking awesome artwork and making my book like sellable.
It was a lot of fun.
So join us next week for matinee.